So, welcome to another episode of Women Work Wellbeing. I hope you're all okay. This week, we are talking about the power of networking. Now, I know a lot of my friends, colleagues, acquaintances all cringe at the thought of networking. And this podcast episode has been inspired by a LinkedIn poll that I ran last week because I interviewed an incredible career coach, Amy Bateman, who I just absolutely love. We met on LinkedIn, and before our podcast chat, I asked my LinkedIn connections if, looking back at their early career, I said, what do you wish you knew before you started? And I gave them 4 options: the importance of networking, number 1; salary negotiation, number 2; having a strong professional presence, number 3; and balancing work and personal life, number 4. Now, I don't know if you've ever done a LinkedIn poll, but you have very limited characters. So number 3, strong professional presence, it's probably not very clear. But what came in first and foremost with there was 50 votes in total, and it was 38% voted for the importance of networking. And I kind of agree. I mean, big for me was salary negotiation. I wish someone would have sat me down and taught me that it's okay to use my voice, and salary negotiation is part and parcel of having a career. And I have recorded a podcast episode on that. So we're going to dig deep into the importance of networking today. 38% of those that partook in the poll said that was, they wish they'd have known. And I do think that networking just isn't taught. I don't think it's taught when we're obviously doing it, when we're in education. So whether we're at school, A levels, whether we go on to university, I just don't think it's talked about. And LinkedIn has just surpassed 1 billion users. Like, this is the place to be for your career. So even if you're not looking for a job, you need to have a presence on LinkedIn, and you need to be utilizing your presence and networking. And the podcast today, I want to try and dispel some myths about networking. So I recently went to an amazing Valentine's Day networking event, and it was on Valentine's Day. It was a morning event. I very nearly didn't go, managing the kids being off school for half term, and I'm so glad I did. And it sort of reignited my passion for getting out there and networking. And I'll tell you what I loved about the event. So for anyone listening that runs networking events, or you're thinking of running one, this is what the format works beautifully, because you had the initial arrival when you feel really awkward when you're by yourself, and you go and make a hot drink. It was morning, so I went off, made a hot drink, and then you hover. Don't you do the hover? Some people have already started to gather. Some people might be there with people they know, and you do the hover and you think, does anyone want to talk to me? Oh my gosh, I feel so awkward. And I did. I am admitting that. I got there and I was like, oh God, I feel quite awkward. And quite quickly, I was doing my hovering with a big smiley face, hover, got to hover, and then you look like you're very open to starting a conversation. So you do the smiles, and lo and behold, I met an amazing woman called Lauren, and we ended up chatting for absolutely ages. You know, when you just totally hit it off, which I know doesn't always happen, but we ended up, and we did the awkward questions. We did the so where do you work and what do you do? And even when you say it, you feel really awkward. Well, I do. It feels really cliche. It feels really networky. But once you get those questions out the way, like we started talking about all about jobs for women, equality for women at work. She told me everything about what she does in data. She works in a marketing agency. I was like, this is brilliant. I'm learning so much about that career that I didn't know before. And then she found my podcast and subscribed, and I was like, win-win, this is brilliant. So the format was that. So it was a bit of hovering, get a drink, and then there were some round tables. There was no set seating plan. And then there was an amazing keynote speaker who was just brilliant, and she just brought the energy and specific tasks, which I'll talk about. So you went and sat down at a table, and obviously it's a total lottery. Like, I just went and sat at a table. Most people had already sat down because I'm late to everything. So I grabbed the last seat at this table. And what happened, because it was seated, I'm not a fan of the standing and hovering and holding your drink and trying to eat canapes and holding your bag and juggling and speaking with your mouth full and all of that stuff. I'm not a fan of eating ones, to be honest. I mean, gosh, I love food and I love eating, but not in a networking when your mouth is full situation. I think loads of people can relate to that. So we sat down and straight away it was like, right, really quickly, just go around and introduce yourself. It wasn't that awkward, when the room's quiet and everyone's listening. There was loads of chatter. So the room was like alive with energy. So it was really quick. It was just, hi, I'm Zoe. I run Jobs for Women. This is what I do. And you had to say one thing that you love about what you do. So that was good. Really good icebreaker. And then the keynote speaker, Gina, just kept giving us little tasks to do. We had to write down how we rate ourselves, how we talk to ourselves in terms of like, do you beat yourself up when you do something wrong? Do you applaud yourself when you do something right? It was really interactive. So there was lots of chitter chatter. There was lots of like audience participation. It was just brilliant. And then the very last task that we had to do, we had to write down something that we were really proud of that we'd achieved. And then we had to turn to our partner and explain it to them. So by the end of the session, I kid you not, I felt like I knew everyone's name. So I was on like a table of about 8. I've connected with most of them on LinkedIn. Some of them have joined the members club. They're following the podcast now. It was just brilliant. And the reason I'm telling you all of this is because I want you to put yourself out there. I want you to challenge yourself. So even if you're not looking for a job, just to expand your network. So 38% in this poll said that they wish they'd known about networking. So whatever stage you are at in your career, you can make the change now. So you might be really good at networking. You might be out there doing it. You might be really present, but you can make some little adjustments now that will literally make a huge impact for you. So you can connect with 100 people a week on LinkedIn. And I know that most people are just not connecting with any, if the odd few, or they might wait for someone to connect. I want you to set yourself some time aside in your calendar, either every day for 10 minutes, just to go on LinkedIn and to find people to connect with. So it's not just about connections. It's also going to be about commenting on people's posts and doing your own posts and encouraging your network to post on your posts. And you can do that by tagging people. The other thing that I want to talk about is that events on LinkedIn are just not utilized. The people that are running events are utilizing the events section. But have you ever stopped and had a little search on LinkedIn at the multitude of global events out there? So whatever area you are working in or whatever area you want to work in, so if you're thinking about transitioning into a different career, maybe you want to get into tech, join some tech events. They are powerful ways to network. There's often a chance to go into breakout rooms. There might be a chat function. People might say, drop your LinkedIn. You might attend a 30-minute webinar, and that could be your networking for that month. So the challenge after listening to this podcast is to go away, and I want you to join one networking online or in-person event a month. And it might make you cringe. It might make you think, no way. I am imploring you to go away and do that. That's going to be your main action point from listening to this podcast. What can you do to just increase your networking? What can you do to improve your connections? You do not know how networking is going to help you either now or in the future. So in the future, if you're fed up of your job and you're looking for another job, the power of your network on LinkedIn is going to be huge when you are ready for a job, because you might end up being linked in with a person. Using the tech example, say you want to go work for Microsoft, you might be connected with someone that you met at a networking event or through another means. You might have attended a webinar and they work at Microsoft, and you have a little search in your connections and you're like, wow, okay, I'm already connected to someone. You can message them. Would you mind me asking you a few questions about life at Microsoft? What's it like? I'm really keen to get into tech. Honestly, people like being approached for advice. People like it's almost like a stroking of the ego. They are seen as the expert and you're coming to them, and I promise you 9 times out of 10 they will respond. The other thing is, if someone doesn't respond, if you send a nice request for help or you send a question, please do a follow-up. Honestly, the amount of times that I've followed up and people have actually said to me, thank you, Zoe, for following up. It is so important that you follow up with people. So if you send someone a connection request and they don't respond, or you ask them something related to your career or for some advice, you even ask them to be a mentor, make sure that you follow up. Please, please, please follow up. And don't be scared to ask people. Career transition has been huge in the community at Jobs for Women. And I spoke to some organizations yesterday, some very large scale global organizations, and we talked about the lack of incredible women leaders. And in certain industries, there aren't those women available to become leaders in their organization. So those companies are honest with themselves that they might need to cast the net further afield. They might need to look for those incredible female or women leaders in other industries and transition them across, which I think is just bloody brilliant. Because in my original, early career, I felt like it had to be so linear. You had to know what you wanted to do early on. You needed to know which degree and then stick in a job related to that degree. And I know loads of people don't. I know loads of people that did like a geography degree and now works in sales. But I feel like things are changing in that once you've been 10 years into a career, it's not as set in stone, that you can't be a little bit more fluid. And I love this movement that is happening. And I love that organizations are looking further afield to get those incredible leaders into their organization. It is brilliant. So this is why networking is going to be so powerful for you. You might get to a point in your career where you're very senior, and then you might be approached by another completely different industry that want you to lead in their team. You might be nowhere near leadership level, but you've got to look ahead. What is your career trajectory? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And one person that you meet at a LinkedIn event, say you're in your early career or mid-career, who knows where they're going to be in 10 years? Like, seriously, you just do not know. So I am recording a free webinar in the Members Club about the power of partnerships and networking. I've run this event live and I got brilliant feedback. There was some real golden nuggets in there. And I'm going to ask you to drill down into career aspirations, your values. I'm going to ask you to rate yourself, or whether you're good or confident at networking, and then we're going to go from there. So we're going to drill down into your values. What do you want? Career? Where do you want to go? And then I'm going to give you some tangible, real actions that you can take to just switch the dial up on networking, whether you like it or whether you don't. You're just going to reframe your mind a little bit, and you're going to say to yourself, I can do this. I can add a little bit of networking into my monthly to-do list, and I'm going to do it to change my life and career for the better. So whether that's, straight away coming off this pod, you're going to think, right, I'm going to go on events on LinkedIn and I'm going to book myself onto a webinar. I'd love you to do that. And, there are other platforms that you can network on. LinkedIn is obviously a great place to start. If you're not on LinkedIn, please, can you get on there? And in this webinar that I'm going to run, I'm going to talk about, top tips, what to do, what not to do, tips to do after networking, following up. Oh my gosh, so basic, but so, so important. I'm going to talk about tips for in-person networking and online. So obviously, I've left a little carrot dangling there because I want you to then, as soon as the webinar is ready, you're going to join our membership. Are you in there already? If you're not, why not? So it's really easy to join. You just head to community.jobsforwomen.co.uk/join, and the webinar is going to be there within the next week. So here are 5 key actions that I want you to think about in the world of networking based on this podcast. So you're going to set some clear goals right now. So you're going to think about like where you are now, what job do you want, what do you want to do in the future, and set yourself some clear goals right now. Just think about what you want. And then you're going to use your career objectives in these goals to sort of start to plan your networking journey. Number 2, you're going to find some networking events. I've just said that. You're going to go on LinkedIn. You're going to find a webinar that you want to go to. You're going to gift yourself that time. Think of it as either training or self-development, whatever it is. Number 3, you're going to get to know LinkedIn. Join some groups on LinkedIn for areas that you're interested in. So whether it's your industry area or whether it's certain people that you want to connect with. What are your interests? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? So if you're interested in tech, I keep going back to that example, find some tech groups. Just really delve into LinkedIn's capabilities for networking. It doesn't need to necessarily be an event. There's so many groups, and that is a great place to network. And then if you make networking or new connections on LinkedIn, I would like you to follow up. So if someone connects with you, send them a message, say, hi, thanks so much for connecting. It's great to meet you. How are you doing? I'd love to learn more about you. I know it feels cheesy. I know it feels like, oh, I don't have time to do that, or I don't want to do that. It is so powerful because that person is going to remember that you've actually reached out to them. And same for a networking event. If you would attend an event and you swap business cards, follow up with them, send them a message. It reinforces that connection and keeps the dialogue open for the future. And then similarly to that, number 5 is offer some value. So offer some insights, help or support them. So if you've met someone at a networking event and you tell them what you do, what could you do to strengthen the relationship, to increase the likelihood of you two becoming, really strong connections? Obviously, you're not going to have time to do that with everyone, but if there's someone that you think this is a really cool person to be connected with, how can you add value to them? What could you offer them? An intro at your company, an explanation, like a virtual coffee of what you do. How can you start to add value? So there's going to be loads of that in the webinar, which is our webinar for March, which I'm really excited about. So it's all about, it's a masterclass on partnerships and networking, and it is a good one, and you can start right now. So I hope you found this podcast useful. I just thought I'd let you know the rest of the poll. This is what came second, which I think is very telling, because when I set up the Jobs for Women membership, I was so keen on work-life balance. Like, I cannot even tell you how obsessed, because I had burnout in my early career. I was so keen to help support women in this constant struggle and juggle for well-being and mental health. And that came in at number 3, balancing work and personal life, which I thought was really telling. That was 26%, and salary negotiation was 28%, which, like I said, I've already done a podcast on. Go search that one out. And I'm going to be definitely doing more on balancing work and personal life. Don't forget, we've got free yoga, mindfulness, and meditation classes in the community at Jobs for Women. Free members club. Head over to community.jobsforwomen.co.uk/join, and I will see you in there. That's it for another episode. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you next time.